our mind and heart will be able to capture advancing the Nigeria poultry industry in the midst of global challenges. You will be surprised when you are asked to look back or look ahead. As Kissinger will say, Henry Kissinger was the Prime Minister of Great Britain in the Second World War era. He said, "It is useful to look forward in planning, but difficult to see further than you can see." I am telling you, I am seeing further progress in the poultry industry more than I have ever envisaged. Because our coming in here under this very tight occasion is a resolve to move ahead. Thinking of a country with over 200 million people. Russia, the great Russia you are listening, is not more than 150 million people. You look at Ukraine, not more than 40 million people. You look at other countries, in terms of purchasing power and patronage, Nigeria is on the wall of itself. Therefore, we must work hard not only to feed the populace, but to break even in whatever we are doing. And that is why I line up behind the host commissioner of agriculture in this state and my fellow brother Olabode, that we must move ahead. But in moving ahead, remember, we must get the knowledge, we must be aware. There are a lot of changes for bettering and improving on poultry production. We are still at the first stage. A lot of us are still on deep litters. We have grounds to move ahead. Just like I took the steps here to come to the podium, the steps are there for you. Please ask questions, put on your thinking cap like my brother has said, and be ready to move the poultry industry forward. Ladies and gentlemen, there are also a lot of researches in our various institutions that have discovered inputs that can greatly subsidize and substitute some of our requirements. In my little browsing in some of these efforts, I noticed we have very little things that can move us forward. This is not the platform for me to call out those things, but I am happy. A lot of students were mentioned, doctors were mentioned on this podium, and all of us must put our heads together to be able to deliver the goods for all time's sake, for Nigeria and for poultry industry. On this note, I want to tell you thank you very much for coming, and I wish you a good stay and a good return back to your destination. Thank you.
And as well, a round of applause for the acting chairman. Quickly, we want to recognize the permanent secretary, Minister of Agriculture, Ogun State, in the person of Dr. Dotun Shorunke. You are welcome, sir. And also want to recognize Dr. Mrs. Uwaga of NOGEM. You are welcome, ma. The time is getting closer for our team speech. There are eminent people here. Before we go to our team speech, we have an eminent Nigerian, a person of high personality, a man that speaks 2-3 languages. He speaks Russian, he speaks Ukrainian. A man that can solve the Russian fiasco that lives in Nigeria. Have you ever seen that? Not even the Europeans can settle that. A person that speaks Russian, that Putin will hear, and Putin will say, okay, Mutiba. And the person that talked to Zelensky, and Zelensky will say, Egboniyo, okay, mi ujamo. But the person is in Nigeria. The person can even speak Polish. I'm talking about a great man. A man that has been in the academics. A man that also owns a farm. A man that when you see, you know that egg never scarce in his house. A man that invites me to this house and I see crates of eggs in the car, crate of egg. He smells money, he spends eggs. He's a man of high profile. A man that want to read his dessert now is a man that knows about the industry. A man that has been in government in Lagos. You know, when you talk about Nigeria, you talk about Lagos. I know our other commissioners may not be jealous. Maybe I'm a Lagosian, but Lagos is for excellence. A man that, at the end of the day, the governor had to call him, come and handle the global Lagos for me. A A man that even the present government is sorting after him, but is taking the time to romance with anybody. A man that when you see, you know that I want to be like this man. A man that so many students have graduated under him. I'm talking about a man, a Lagosian. A Lagosian able to buy land, talk to this man, but he's not a land seller. He's a farmer. Please permit me to call upon a man that I'm going to read his desert now. Hello? I want you to go along with me. This is just to tell you that farmers are also eminent. It's to tell you that farmers are also there. A farmer can wear a coat. A farmer can put on a designer shoe. A farmer, not only a farmer, a poultry farmer can shine anywhere in the world. If you believe in yourself, you know that a poultry farmer is a distinguished fellow. Poultry farming is one of the best professions you can ever have. When you have a farm in your house, know that you have it secured. Anybody coming in, the cock will crow. Engineer, are you ready for me? Let's go ahead. Okay, let me quickly read. I'm talking a person of Dr. Basharun Yakub Olajide was born in Surulere, Lagos on 17th May 1958 into the Jalabi branch of the Eletu Edibo chieftaincy family of Eleko, Lagos, Nigeria. He had his primary school education at government demonstration Surulere, Lagos between 1964 and 1970. He attended at Saudin College, Isolo, for his secondary school education between 1971 and 1975. And thereafter proceeded to Federal School of Arts and Science, Victoria Island, Lagos, for advanced level studies. He had his university education in Dotugev Agricultural University, Kharkov, Ukraine, between 1979 and 1987. Where he obtained his Master of Science, MSc degree in agrochemistry and PhD degree in agriculture. He has a patent for the modification of IV Turing method of Hunu's determination in soils, 1984. Dr. Rubasharun started his working career in 1984 when he worked as agricultural extension officer in the Institute Village Linkage Program as part of industrial scheme from 1985 to 1987. He was assistant lecturer, Department of Soil Science, Doctorate of Agriculture, University, Kharkov, Ukraine, after which he came to Nigeria to participate in the National Youth Service Scheme from 1988 to 1989. At the University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, by sheer merit, he was retained as lecturer 2, 1989 to 1992. As pioneering staff of the Department of Soil Sciences, University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, after which he was elevated as lecturer 1 in 1992. Having had enough of academics, he transferred his service to Lagos Public Service in February 1995 as Chief Agric Officer and rose through the ranks to the post of Director in 2000. He was the head of Agricultural Extension Services at the Lagos State Agricultural Development Authority between 1995 and 1999. Deputy Director of Agricultural Services between 2000 and 2005. And Program Management Chief Executive Officer, Lagos State Agricultural Development Authority between 2005 and 2010. He reached the end of his career in the civil service when he was appointed permanent secretary and was deployed to the Ministry of Agriculture and Cooperative in December 7, 2010, where he served at February 2016 when he was redeployed to the Office of Overseas Affairs and Investment, bracket Lagos Global, and subsequently as permanent secretary, Ministry of Wealth Creation and Employment in March 2017. Great farmers, please let's welcome Dr. Olajide Yakub. We're proud of you, sir. You are welcome, sir. As I told you earlier, this man can settle the Russian fiasco. You are most welcome, sir. I personally welcome you as Omo Ekwatata, sir. You are most welcome, sir.
Good morning, distinguished gentlemen. I think I'm a bit kind of embarrassed with the introduction is even taking more time than the lecture itself. Right. Well, it's something to probably distract us. It's an honor and privilege to be here. I want to crave your indulgence, of course, to stand on the very well-established protocol. And of course, I recognize all our leaders, our honorable commissioners, and the representatives of the sponsors, the national poultry leaders, and everybody here seated. Great farmers. And I also recognize our students who are here. This is a very welcome development because this is an opportunity to really, participate in the programs and get interested in agriculture, particularly poultry, and, show your love and develop along with it. I must start, as is traditional, by thanking the organizers of this event for inviting me to speak on this very important theme and at a very strategic meeting such as this. The National Poultry Show has now become a regular item on the poultry value chain calendar in Nigeria, and it has begun to even attract participations from not only all over the country, but regionally and even internationally. For this, I must salute the vision of the pioneers who started this many years ago, and also commend, of course, the organizers of this edition for a job very well done. I thank you most sincerely. I believe my PowerPoint should be on. Do you have? Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, our theme, sustaining. Where is your remote? This way. Sorry. It's important. Where do you? Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, to properly dimension what we are to speak about today, actually there's no reinventing the wheel. A number of the things that we'll be talking about are very well documented, are very well known. But we need to break it down because there's the popular saying, when you know your problem, half of that problem is solved. So it's important that we break it down and be able to compartmentalize the various problems. So I have decided to use that side. Okay, thank you. So the remote is closer here. So we're going to talk about 5 main divisions, 5 areas. We will look at an introduction that gives us a background of the problem, agriculture generally in Nigeria. We will give, a background, an introduction to the poultry industry, how we get to where we are now, and of course, highlight the various difficulties that the poultry industry faces. It is when we know these difficulties, we will be able to then provide solutions to these various difficulties. You follow me and just change it. So you can give us the next slide so I don't need to stay with you. So, and we will, of course, we will end with some recommendations, and I believe that is the key of what we are going to talk about. Every other thing, like I said, are issues that are well documented and very well known. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Nigerian economy is largely agrarian, and it's, although oil-based, but significantly we depend on, next slide, we depend a lot on agriculture, and agriculture contributes even up to 30% of our gross domestic product. And this sector, although minimal in terms of what it contributes to the GDP, it's still the second largest export earner after oil. And of course, agriculture in Nigeria is based on four major, sectors, subsectors. The crops, which is the largest, about 85%. Then we have the livestock sector, which is just about a tenth of the whole agricultural sector itself. Then we have the fisheries and forestry. What is interesting, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that while crops and livestock maintains still their contribution in terms of level, we have seen significant growth in the fisheries subsector, whereas the forestry subsector is shrinking. So this important, statistics are important for us to note because they will also speak to a number of recommendations that we will, take. So next slide. I wouldn't want to waste time on these introductions. The development of the poultry industry in Nigeria has, come a long way. From backyard poultry to very, highly industrial sectors, that we have found. Even before independence, we have had commercial farms in the southwest of Nigeria doing poultry. And this has, established a very big industry, that we have now. Although we experienced a number of, a slowdown during the 80s where we have the economic depression, but there's a gradual move towards an increase in the contribution of the poultry industry. Ladies and gentlemen, successive governments in Nigeria have tried to, intervene in ways to develop the industry. And many programs, very, very many programs have been introduced to stimulate growth in the industry. One of such is the introduction of the Commercial Agri-Credit Scheme, CACS, which really, made the industry to develop very fast. A number of commercial entities were able to access funding and allowed them to expand production tremendously. Another significant introduction or support came from the Nigeria incentive-based risk-sharing system for agricultural lending, NISAL. NISAL was also an intervention of the federal government that supported the growth of agriculture. But all that notwithstanding, ladies and gentlemen, the importance of this sector to the individual Nigerians, individual population is still very low, to the extent that our consumption of poultry meat, you will be surprised, for a population as large as ours, for an industry as big as this, is still significantly, low compared to other African countries. For example, we still consume less than 2 kilograms of chicken per capita per annum. When we put this side by side to countries like South Africa or even Ghana, South Africa consumes as much as 32, while Ghana consumes almost 8 kilograms per capita per annum. What this means is the opportunity embedded in this discussion that we will need to talk to. Now, let's briefly identify the challenges. There have been so many challenges that have been documented in the industry. I will list the very few of them that we have been able to notice that have contributed significantly to the growth of poultry industry. These challenges include, of course, as been mentioned by various goodwill message speakers even before me, includes disease attacks and how this has ravaged many farms, has reduced production tremendously, access to finance, access to technology, access to even feeds, other inputs in terms of when we say access, we mean they are costed far beyond the reach of the average farmers that need them. So it is, inaccessible. So these difficulties, well documented, pale significantly when we put them side by side with the insufficiency or lack of infrastructural development. Access roads, evacuating our goods from our farms to the market, power situations, cold chain development, even technology dissemination, technology adaptation and dissemination effectively. These are critical issues that speaks to sustainability of any industry. And these are the issues that we will identify and bring out to look at our way forward to sustaining the industry. And of course, I want to, for us to be able to do that, I want us to carry out an exercise, a SWOT analysis of the Nigerian poultry industry. This will help us also to justify whatever recommendations we are going to make. So we want to look at the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats embedded in this poultry industry. So let's look first at the strengths of the poultry industries. Of course, in my paper, I have, given some basic facts, that are, characteristics of the poultry industry in Nigeria in terms of the numbers and so on. These are in the paper. You can always have a look at them. But we will look at the analysis, and first we want to look at the strengths of the poultry sector. I have identified three major strengths. Ladies and gentlemen, the first is the growing market, with the demands for eggs and meat projected to reach 1.3 million tons by 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, that is huge. That is huge. When you look at our population, when you look at our per capita consumption, which is in the paper, we looked at what we consume annually per person and nationally in total, and what we project that we'll consume by the next 5 to 10 years. It speaks to the strength of the industry. Also, the high rate of private investment. Yes, there is a difficulty in the economy. Yes, there is a lot of challenges, but I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, there are still a lot of investments coming into agriculture, coming into the poultry industry daily. If not, we wouldn't be seeing all the level of participation, level of willingness to come and play in a very important industry that we have. So another major strength is the capacity of our industry to even export to not only the South, the West African region, but also internationally and globally. Having looked at the strengths, we will now mention some weaknesses. Weaknesses that we identify in the industry include competitiveness. There's very low level of competitiveness in what we do, ladies and gentlemen. The average farmer is farming basically maybe just to be able to eat, to be able to sustain his own living. So the products are rudimentary, the products are not well presented and not well packaged most times, except for the very little industrial productions that we have. Those are the areas that we need to work on. We need to train the farmer to be able to present his products in a manner that is more attractive, in a manner that will, even attract additional, pricing. So this kind of, competitiveness is important to be able to, put side by side our product with those coming out of the coming from outside the country, and see that in terms of quality, yes, we are good, but packaging and presentation is weak. And one other major weakness is the high cost of input, as has been earlier mentioned. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very weak point in the chain, to the extent that a lot of farms are now finding it difficult to break even. When you look at, I'll give you an example illustration. When you look at me, just let's say this is what you earn from your poultry industry, and this is the level of your input. Between right hand and the left hand is your margin. In the last 5 years, your input has continued to rise, whereas your output or your income is static or marginally rising, to the extent that there is virtually no margin now existing in poultry production, except those who are producing at very high levels in numbers. So it has become a number game. I'll give you a classic example. When I came into the poultry industry just about 10 years ago, a crate of egg was sold for about 600 naira. From that crate of egg, I make up to 30% margin from cost of production and the income. Right now, farm gate price of a crate of egg is about 1,850 naira. If you do your economics right, your margin cannot be more than 100 naira per crate. So that is less than 9%, less than even between 7 and 9%, from 30% about 10 years ago to 9%. So this is due to high cost of input. Again, we brought this out so that you can understand when we make the recommendation, you will know that this is the justification for such level of weakness. Then we have weak infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, poor power services. We have talked about it in terms of penetration. Yes, the government is doing a lot, but in terms of spread, in terms of, we have a situation where even generation is okay, transmission is okay, but distribution is poor. So very little households are able to see our power for more than 10 hours in a day. Even where you don't have power, alternative is diesel. The price of diesel in the last 12 months has gone out of the reach of most people. In a commercial farm, there is no way you will spend less than 3 to 5% of your diesel cost on production. A situation such as that makes that poultry industry unsustainable. So that is important. Then also, market. There are no structured market. Very few of them. We'll talk about them when we get to the, we looked at the recommendations. Structured markets, value chain, cold chain movements of our poultry products is very weak, and this is not sustainable. We have very limited level of automation and access to finance. This is a major issue which we will deal with in our recommendation, of course, and we want to look at the opportunities. The major opportunity here is the demonstrated capacity for job creation. Ladies and gentlemen, of all the sectors of a Nigerian economy, agriculture still holds the highest demonstrated capacity for employment. And this is well documented, and this is a strength, a very big opportunity that we have. That means any discerning government that wants to impact on the life of the people will do it through agriculture. And when you do it through agriculture, you do it through poultry. Poultry is the easiest to, bring people on board and train them, and they will become, sustainable. Then the demand itself. I told you about what we eat per capita in a year, less than about 3 kilograms per person. based on the increase, the development and awareness, people are beginning to consume more. And when they consume more, mind you, the federal government has banned importation, so you have to look inward. So this is an opportunity for the poultry industry. So this is a very big opportunity for us to develop our industry. And of course, the demand for equipment and machinery and so on, as has been mentioned earlier. So lastly, we'll look at the threats. There are 5 major threats that I have identified. The first is the effect of epizootics and epidemics. Of course, this is the major threat to our industry. You've seen what happens to us with AI, avian influenza, how it had wiped out a number of farms significantly, to the extent that some are still yet to recover from the losses. And as the Chairman Poultry Association mentioned, appealing to government to introduce measures to ameliorate these losses. We have seen in different climes when you have this kind of losses and how government comes instantly to compensate, and even they come to your farm forcefully, cool all your animals and compensate you immediately. So you have no fear. In Nigeria, once a farmer sees signs of bird flu or something, they want to quickly sell those birds, which is not supposed to be the case, because they are afraid that there won't be any income, so they are going to lose significantly. So this threat speaks to some of the recommendations that we will talk about. Then, of course, apart from that, epidemics. We are all witnesses to the recent COVID-19, how it's almost destroyed our industry. Farms were closed during lockdown. Farmers could not go to farms. Those who produce, we have seen farms in Lagos that are throwing eggs into the pit because they couldn't sell. So, and of course, side by side with that, the financial losses that, came up from this kind of threats. Then, agricultural policy instability. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad our commissioners are here. This is a major threat to the sustainability of our industry. We need every successive government comes in, wants to do something new. We don't have to do that. There is nothing wrong in continuing the policy of the previous government, in as much as that policy is good. So one of the problems we have is that the number of governments you have, that's the number of policies you have in agriculture. So a lot of back and forth, one step forward, 2 steps backwards, as they say, and there is no progress. So that's a major threat. And of course, a major contemporary threat to sustainability right now is insecurity. Ladies and gentlemen, the effect of banditry, the effect of kidnapping on our farmers is significant. We have a lot of farms that are not approachable now because it is insecure to go there. The farmers are afraid to go to their farms. That is even better for some, poultry farmers. But for crop farmers, it's terrible. And we depend on them for a lot of inputs. So insecurity is a major kidnapping, terrorism, banditry, is significant. And when we look globally, the MC mentioned also earlier when he was talking globally, the conflict between Ukraine and Russia has disrupted the supply chain for grains significantly. We are happy in Nigeria that we don't depend much on, grain from that region, although it affected us. But, countries like Egypt, countries like Syria and so on, it's almost paralyzed their economy. And the countries in the Western Europe are feeling the impact from the cost of energy and so on, that they will even feel more as they go into winter. So conflict, insecurity is a major threat to the industry. So when we look at that, we will be able to make solutions, provide solutions. Another important threat is climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, climate change is important, and a lot of us are deniers. We believe there is nothing like climate change. Yes, there is. At least in my own little age, I know when we study geography and we do, we used to have two distinct rainy seasons. You have from April to about July, and then you have a break in August, and in September you have, the second shorter season. See what is happening now, globally. There's a change in that pattern. It's unpredictable now, to the extent that, in my farm, I suffered a flood incident that we have not seen in the last 10 years, that we have not seen at all, at a time that we were not even expecting it. So these are results of climate change. So again, solution is climate smart agriculture, and so on and so forth. And lastly, in terms of the threat, is weak governance structure. Weak governance structure. This is also important, and I will, implore, our, government officials to please, a lot of what is happening is easier for me to say now because I'm out of government, so I can talk about it. There's a lot of competition, a lot of tough war, between the federal government, the state government, and the local government. Agriculture is on the concurrent legislative list. Each part of those level of government is supposed to contribute to agriculture. But what should they do? The three of them should sit down together and delegate. I do not see any reason why the federal government is participating in some agricultural policy that requires grassroots level participation. That should be left for the local government to do, and so on and so forth. So it's a matter of competition that is unnecessary, that is because of maybe, the need to bring, favor to one another. But again, I will hope we will speak to that. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, along the lines of the threats that we have been able to identify, we brought out 5 areas that we believe, if looked into, will, move us forward in the development of this industry and also sustain our poultry business. The first one is governance and macroeconomic policies. There is need for policy consistency, as we have said. There is need for the federal government to take decisive action on the exchange rate mechanism. Just look at it. The federal government is changing money for you in the official market at about, let's say, the dollar at about 300, 400 naira. And in the parallel market, it's almost 800 naira. It's 810 now, some people are saying. So there's a gap of almost 400 naira difference. And a lot of, unscrupulous people, due to connection, due to need, if you get an allocation of $1 million, you just do a round tripping and immediately you become 400 million naira richer. That is why it is crazy. It is unsustainable. We need to stop this. And it can be done. It just takes political will. If the government wants to stop it today, it can be stopped. But corruption will fight back. But we will be ready to fight corruption. So these are the kind of things that we say that government is doing that we need to advise them to stop doing. Also, land and land availability. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very critical issue. Land. A number of people already here spoke about, my Honorable Commissioner for Ogun State talked about maize production and so on. I'll tell you, sir, we are sitting on a gold mine. I am a pioneer staff of the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. the Alabata campus. As a matter of fact, I pioneered the planting of the neem tree, of the perimeter neem tree. That campus is 10,000 hectares. What UNAB is using is less than 2,000 hectares. Less than 1,000 even. Less than 1,000 of 10,000 acquired. If you put 5,000 hectares to maize production, that is a 4 billion naira economy. That is a 4 billion naira economy instantly. You have University of Obafemi Awolowo University, 15,000 hectares, and so on and so forth. We are sitting on land banks that are not used. So I'm enjoying this. Speaks to one of our recommendations. All these places we need to now make sure that the lands are available, particularly to our youth who wants to go into agriculture. So I recommended that all poultry farms, all farms should be registered. All farms should be georeferenced. All farms should be surveyed. So these are major recommendations that we as a poultry organization should put forward to government today, because it has a reason. I will talk to it at the end of the discussion. Then we want to also sanitize the budgeting and procurement process, and so on and so forth. Now, ladies and gentlemen, specifically when it comes to access to finance, let's go to the recommendations and I will end. Access to finance. The cost and structuring of finance, particularly to poultry, is so unfair. It's so unfair. A lot of farmers have had access to, I spoke earlier about CACS, that's Commercial Agri Credit Scheme. I spoke about NISAL and so on. These are official government operated schemes. But there are a number of private schemes, lending instruments from different banks. A lot of these facilities are costed and structured unfairly to the poultry farmer. A number of us, because the poultry business, what attracted us is the fact that quick turnover, on investment and so on. A lot of people come into poultry business. I'll tell you sincerely, the person who introduced me to poultry business told me, Jide, go and invest in poultry business. Adumadeke. That's about 15 years ago. That's something that is so sweet that you cannot imagine. From 1 year's investment, I was able to do my investment. It is no more so this time around, because I'm so much exposed to unfair pricing of bank facilities, and the structure is such that it does not meet what you need to do. By the time you have not yet made your significant profit or so, the banks are troubling you to come and start repayment. We've told you that right now egg production is at best 9% margin. That's if you are so good. Broiler production, ladies and gentlemen, between DOC and feed and medicaments and all that, if you are so good, you cannot do more than 14%. 14%, that is, you are using best technologies. So look at it, ladies and gentlemen. No commercial bank will give you a credit less than 17% as we speak. So if you get a facility of 17%, you are running at a loss already. Already at a loss. So these are things that we need to look at and be able to dimension and be able to speak to power, speak to authority and tell them. And I tell you what, a lot of these financial institutions get facilities from corresponding international institutions at not less than 3%. And they borrow to us at 17%. So these are things that we need to look at and be able to, recommend. So I want to close, by, telling us that there are so many opportunities, that we need to. We have listed all these recommendations. We, mitigate the effects of climate change by, promoting climate smart agriculture, stream agricultural insurance, particularly insurance of goods in transit. This is very important to all of us. Then I want to present a model. Maybe you go to the last slide. I want to present a model. Yes, no, the model, go back to the model. This is a model that we are using very well in Lagos State now. In Lagos State, we have created an Ikorodu broiler hub. It's a conglomeration of farmers who are into broiler farming, and we have approached institutions who are ready to lend, and we have called to the table service providers and input providers. So it's a tripartite arrangement. I'm a farmer, you are producing feed or you are producing DOC, and this is an institution. I don't need to put a kobo down, and you don't need to give me a kobo. All you need to do is, the bank guarantees it, the input providers give the farmer the DOC as and when due, the feed producer gives the farmer the required quantity of feed as and when due, and the insurance does the same. The farmer produces. All the farmer needs to do is to produce. Work. At the end of it all, he harvests. The off-taker is ready, negotiated, comes to take it and pays the farmer, the margin. So this is a model that has been very well tested and that is working very well, particularly in among broiler farmers in Lagos. So this is what I want to recommend for all poultry farmers. So we need to sit down and be able to negotiate with all our service providers and be able to tell them. And that is why you need to have your farms dimension, you need to have your farms registered and so on, so that they know you have nowhere to go. You don't need a cover from them directly. You just needed the inputs in kind, produce, and the people who are going to offtake it are ready to offtake it. It's a cycle that works very well and will sustain the poultry industry. Thank you all very much.
Let's appreciate our team speaker. He's done a great job to All right. Very soon we're going to be having the next presentation from USEC. But before that, I want to recognize the presence of the following personalities in our midst. Dr. Oyewola, who is representing Chief Ogunaike. Dr. Oyewola, are you in the house? Please stand up. You're welcome. Please let me make you welcome. We also recognize the presence of Mrs. Tola Johnson in our midst. Mrs. Tola Johnson, you're welcome. Can we see you, Sadi? You're welcome, my sister. You're welcome. And right now, we're going to be having a very short goodwill message from the MD CEO of Mid-Century, Dr. Raymond Isidaso. Dr. Raymond, welcome, sir. A very short goodwill message from Doctor.
Sorry, great farmers, all protocols duly observed. I am not here representing only myself, Mid-Century Agro-Alive Ventures Limited, but rather I'm here in two groups: Feed Industry Practitioners Association of Nigeria and Animal Science Association of Nigeria. And I am Mr. Raymond Isiadinso. I want to thank the organizers of this
great occasion, sustaining the Nigeria poultry industry. Is a kind of, charging our mind to the trending issues on the globe. And I want to tell us briefly, as I've been told, that the world is now on realizing itself on a new normal, what is called the new normal. What do I mean by this? From ages, there has been issues globally. The world rebases itself to come out from these challenges. There was issue of COVID, there was World War I, World War II. Economies crumbled. The world rebases itself to start ahead. Finding solution how to drive itself. And so now, there is multiple issues that threw itself up as challenges. One of them is COVID. We started with COVID, all of a sudden, the war in Ukraine and Russia came up. And again, globally, there was a global downturn. It is snowballing. The whole economies are going to rebase itself. So I came here with, I have come with a note of hope that not to worry. When the COVID-19 came up, there was a kind of scattering. People were running helter-skelter. Scientists went to work, and they found a near solution to it. When there was a challenge of bombing, aeroplane crashing, the researchers, security experts went underground and found a new base to travel, that before you fly, you remove your shoes, you remove your metals, and you remove this, so that everybody becomes safe. So also in the world we live now in agricultural production, I want to assure us that suddenly researches are coalescing, parallel, horizontally, vertical, and the world is going to come out with a good rebased form of farming. Farmers should not lose hope. Improve on your practices and ensure that you economize, optimize what you are using. That is what the situation on hand. With these few words, I want to tell us that the hope is not lost. Population is growing. The pointer, the new hanging fruit, and also the cash cow now is agriculture. During the lockdown, babies were made. There is no clear-cut global population number in terms of figures. And that is why you see the pressure from the population is like this, with very few supply. And the key global production centers are being challenged. That is the supply sources. Then again, also, the materials that are being used, soya maize has attained what is called strategic status. They are now strategic status. They have attained strategic status. One, competition between humans and animals. So the world is rebasing. If we take it cool, you optimize your production and you use the best materials, you are going to get to where you are going. I wish us very good deliberations, and I wish us very good conferences.
And in the future,
I thank the organizers. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Once again, we love to recognize our major sponsors: Premier Feed Company Limited, President of Top Feed and other brands, Animal Care Services Consult Limited, ADM Animal Nutrition Nigeria, and US soya. Please help me clap for all of them. They've been wonderful and they've given us so much support, and we can't thank them enough. And many other sponsors also, but time will not permit me to keep mentioning all of them. And right now, we're going to be going to yet another section. We're going to be having a presentation by our own man, and I'm going to be taking his citation, Dr. Michael Davids. So please, let's be attentive. Dr. Michael Davids serves as a country representative for Nigeria, Sub-Saharan Africa, and the Soya Excellence Center point of contact for the US soya. He is responsible for the implementation of US soya's market development efforts in the region. Prior to this, Michael was the senior agricultural specialist at the FAS/USDA office in the Lagos for 21 years. Between 1991 and 2012, he served as the vital link between US and Nigeria agricultural industry, and played a pivotal role in advancing US agricultural interests in Nigeria. Michael's in-depth in research report on agricultural policy, market access, production, supply, and demand had significant impact for US and Nigeria agricultural trade. Also, he consulted for the US Poultry and Egg Export Council and World Initiative for Soya in Human Health, WISHH. Michael holds an MBA specialized in strategic marketing and a PhD in organizational leadership from Regent University, Virginia Beach, USA, specialized in entrepreneurial leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome our own Mr. Michael David, PhD, Country Representative, Nigeria, SSA. You're welcome, sir.
With that long introduction, I think I'll just do my best to make it as short as possible. Great farmers, and no farmer, no nation. Let me stand on the excellent existing protocol, but be quick to thank our host, the Commissioner of Agriculture for Ogun State. We appreciate the good work that you do here. And of course, all the dignitaries that are here, we appreciate your finding time to be here. I will not fail to also thank our organizers, the Southwest Poultry Association of Nigeria. Thank you for the invitation that you have extended to US Soya to be here today. We sincerely appreciate the partnership that we have enjoyed working with you. In January of this year, we had the opportunity of organizing a high-profile Nigerian delegation to a conference in Atlanta, Georgia. And guess what? Over 60, and most of you here in the hall were in attendance. I want to say a very big thank you for that. And just this last month in Lagos, we scaled it up to over 200 individuals, industry leaders, both from Nigeria and the United States. And it was also a great program that we had. Again, I want to use this opportunity to thank the poultry industry in Nigeria. We're trying to put this together for this industry. Two questions I will just address in just a few minutes, and I will sit down. Why is US soya in Nigeria? And the second one is, what is US soya doing to grow the soya value value chain in Nigeria. These are just the two, and then we'll be out of here. Why is US soya in Nigeria? You can go this short route and say, oh yeah, the reason we are here, the US soya is here. By the way, I'm standing on the shoulders of the Chief Executive Officer of US soya in the person of Jim Sutter. He's unavoidably absent. And of course, our regional director for South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. I only cover Nigeria and Sub-Saharan Africa for them. So I'm standing on their shoulders here today. Why are they in Nigeria? Way back in 2016, a survey was done globally. You are aware of the trade war that existed between the United States and China under Mr. Trump. What that did was that it opened the eyes of the United States to put its eggs in many baskets. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. One day you lose all. That's what it threw up. So what the United States soya did was to do a global study. Which are the countries that have potentials to become great in poultry production, in aquaculture production, in food consumption? And guess what? Behind China, of course, that was already off the market. India, that was already off the market. Nigeria bubbled to the #1 position. For the same reasons that we have stated here today. Our population, the people need to be fed. We're looking at over 200 million people. The people need to be fed. So the model that U.S. soybeans decided to adopt is the very model that they adopted almost 30 years ago in China. What did they do in China? In China, they looked at the population and said, look, these people have to be fed the same way they're doing in Nigeria now. What can we do? Let's tell them, let's train them. Let's show them the many, many ways that this soya can be used either for direct human consumption or be used. In Nigeria today, soya is still the preferred source of protein in animal feed. So let's train them, and they provided the best of trainings you can think of to the Chinese. I want you to listen to what happened. China at that time was growing about 10 million metric tons of soya. Within a few years of the intervention of US soya in that market, China's domestic production went from 10 million to 20 million, 100% increase. Well, I say it again, that's the model that US soya wants to adopt in Nigeria. Want to see Nigeria grow more soya. Why? Because soya has been determined globally as solution to the problems we're having. And what's that problem? It's the problem of hunger and malnutrition. Whatever you plan, please keep it low. Soya can help us either through animal source or by direct consumption. So that's what we are focused on in Nigeria. So if anybody tells you US soya is in Nigeria, to just hand over soya to Nigerians and just pack their bags and go, it is not so. Just a month ago, the CEO of US soya told us this. We are here. Just two things I remember he said, and I want to anchor that to some of us that were there. One of it is, we are in Nigeria with Nigerians. We are here to partner with you. And the second one that caught my attention, we are in Nigeria for the long term. In other words, this is not a 100 meters dash. We are here to tag along with you, work with you. My cooperation, the synergy I have had over my close to 35 years of work with US industry and government has largely been with most of you. Every time I see one person walk up to me and say, how are you? You remember me from the years that we have spent together. And so I'm really elated that I'm still working for US Soya for this critical reason. The vision of US Soya globally, not just in Nigeria, is to address this dual problem of food security and nutrition security. People in the house, I want to believe that you agree with me that nutrition or food security does not equal nutrition security. Am I right? Yes. You can fill your tummy with all the food and make it bloat, and yet one day just fall down and die because you are not nourished. So I wants to see it like a fundamental right of everybody that lives on the surface of the earth should have access to adequate food and nutrition. I can go on and say that. What is US Soya doing in Nigeria? I've already told you we organize conferences. What are these conferences required to do? We use it as avenues to build capacity, to introduce, to tell you what is available, to tell you where India was 20 years ago. And with the intervention of US Soya in India, same thing that happened in China, happened in India. Up to today, nothing, no imports, no exports from the US to India. No export, but yet a lot of money is poured into that country. So how can we catch up? So let me just tell us briefly what US Soya is doing in Nigeria. I've talked about the conferences and trade delegations, both what we call reverse trade missions. Missions coming from the United States to Nigeria, and missions going from Nigeria to the United States. But this next one is very exciting to me. If you forget everything that I say here today, don't forget this one. And that is the fact that US Soya beans, or we call it shortly US Soya, has established in Nigeria what we call the Soya Excellence Center. Well, I thought you would put your hands together for that. You know, because the reason I say that I am of Nigerian descent, like most of us here, if US Soya were just here for what is in it for it, they would just come here and tell you how good US Soya, and by the way, US Soya is the best in the world. So if you wanted to hear that, it's good you have heard that. But that's not the reason. There's much more down the line. And that's why they have established what we call the Soya Excellence Center. What is the Soya Excellence Center? It's a capacity building, training organization for middle-level Nigerians. And we're thinking of extending it to the rest of Africa. For now, the Soya Excellence Center only exists in 4 locations around the entire world. One for the Americas, South America. One in Egypt for North America and the Middle East. One in South Asia, I think Singapore. And the only one in Sub-Saharan Africa is here in Nigeria. The Soya Excellence Center has 4 strands of training. We call them tracks. Poultry management, and I want to believe that's relevant to where. Aquaculture management is number 2. Feed mill management, number 3. And guess what? This one only obtains in Nigeria alone, the 4th strand, the 4th track, and that is agronomy. I know you said something about growing soya earlier. So I'm going to talk to my friend. In the house, before I forget that I have a team that is colored well in the house, we have the top echelon of a Soya Excellence Center, we have an advisory council that is made up of the best you can think of in all the phases. Will you be kind to just rise to and look at them at the advisory council is chaired by Professor Iyayi, the Director General and CEO of the Nigerian Institute of Animal Science. We're happy, and of course, I can't go through the whole list. And the way the courses are structured, the courses were competitively bidded for around the world. For instance, poultry, which most of you know about, the course was developed by Kansas State University. It's one of the leading institutes around the entire world when it comes to poultry. But the local execution of the training is handled by an organization that most of you know about. It's called the Premier Agribusiness Academy. In other words, USCA is in partnership with them to bring this training. Okay, the Director General in the person of Dr. Francis Turumadas, we're happy to also have you. So I say again that we have 4 of these tracks, and the tracks are at 3 levels. The training, they are offered at 3 levels. Basically, you are a supervisor in a poultry organization, or you are a middle-level manager. You are qualified. I've met many people who say, but I don't know about it. Now you are hearing about it. Don't hold me now. Because I just came yesterday, but he is here with you all the days. So we have 3 levels: the basic level, intermediate level, and advanced level. Between 2020 and during this sit-at-home COVID lockdown, between then and now, Soya Excellence Center Nigeria has been able to train 500 individuals and counting as of today. 500. One thing that is good is we have also come, the PA, we call them Premier Agribusiness Academy, has a stand. If you want to hear more about what USCA is doing in Nigeria, and you can make your own judgment after that, please go to their stand out there to answer your questions. Just to say on a closing note, USCA is here as your friend, and we are here as your friend for the long term. We want to see Nigeria nourished. This country has great potentials, and there's nobody that can take away from that. That's why, in spite of the insecurity, people are still coming into this country to do new investment, and there's nothing that will stop that. This is a great nation. This is a country with so much of population. And the next thing we need to add to that is that the nutrition, the food security, and the nutrition of the average Nigerian is guaranteed for the long term. On that note, I want to say again a very big thank you. Thank you for giving us this thank you for the partnership we have. We want to develop more on this partnership. God bless you, and thank you again.
Yes, sir. A round of applause for Dr. David.
Rising population,
A personality of pronounced one.
consciousness is
You can see him in suits. He's also a farmer.
for sustainable nutrition.
Before we get to the
and
panelist
energy.
section,
Your customers
Once
are
again, I want to
demanding
tell the
more,
farmers here, this is a place you
and
can get
we're
opportunities.
here to help you
The
deliver.
hatcheries are here. The feed millers are here.
US soybean
Sellers
farmers
of
grow and
medicaments are
develop
here.
Sustainable solutions
Companies
to
looking for
today's
opportunities
problems,
in which they
producing
can
feed,
invest
food,
and do
fuel
business
for a
with.
growing world.
So make
And
yourself
preserving the
available,
planet we live
strategize,
on for the
visit
future.
booths,
We're
make sure you
committed
gain
to
something.
leading on sustainability.
Make sure you don't come
In
here
fact,
ordinarily and
US
go back
soy has the
ordinarily.
lowest carbon
The students
footprint
are
when
listening to
compared
us.
soy from
And
other
quickly,
origins.
want to say,
Since 1982, U.S.
make
forest
sure you
land
get something.
increased
It's a future
2.1
business.
million hectares, while cropland decreased 21.3 million hectares. We're leading
Okay.
by advancing key
There's a
UN
message
Sustainable
going on the
Development
screen. We
Goals,
can quickly
a
listen
shared
to
map
that.
for peace and prosperity now and in the future. Our story is one of continuous improvement. Since 1980, U.S. soy farmers have significantly improved resource use efficiency per bushel while increasing soy production by 130%. We won't stop there. Rising population, changing climate, and growing consumer consciousness is adding new pressures and greater demand for sustainable nutrition and energy. Your customers are demanding more, and we're here to help you deliver. U.S. soybean farmers grow and develop sustainable solutions to today's biggest problems, producing feed, food, and fuel for a growing world, and preserving the planet we live on for the future. We're committed to leading on sustainability. In fact, U.S. soy has the lowest carbon footprint when compared to soy from other origins. Since 1982, U.S. forest land increased 2.1 million hectares, while cropland decreased 21.3 million hectares. We're leading by advancing key UN Sustainable Development Goals, a shared map for peace and prosperity now and in the future. Our story is one of continuous improvement. Since 1980, U.S. soy farmers have significantly improved resource use efficiency per bushel while increasing soy production by 130%. We won't stop there. U.S. soy is going further to deliver sustainable solutions for you, your customers, and the planet.
That is the message from the US soy. You meet them in the booths. Please, we want to beckon everyone here, in as much you are a farmer, this is where you come to bound. I want all of us here to harness this opportunity whereby everyone is going to be happy. It's a symbiotic relationship where farmers meet various manufacturers, whereby you go home and you are happy. And next year you are telling us you are doing much more better. It encourages us to gather again and to tell you more. Permit me to say that a lot of manufacturers cannot be able to come in today because there are no more spaces. That is to tell you, a lot of manufacturers want to be here. So the ones that are present, I want you to utilize this opportunity to meet them and make the best use of this opportunity. Before we get to the next one, which is the panelists, it's a time for you to ask questions. They will be here, we'll call upon them. They are seasoned people, like Dr. Basharon is seated already. But quickly, before I call on other panelists, I want to call Dr. Shewa Ayorinde, Diversity Solution, representing Dr. Ayola Oduton, Group Managing Director, AMO, the former National President of PAN. Dr. Shewa Ayorinde, are you in the house? Okay. We are now in the panelists section. In the panelist section, it's a place every farmer will listen. Whatever question you want to ask, the panelists will talk about various aspects concerning their industry. Dr. Olajide Basharun is already seated. Because of time, we cannot read more citation. We want to call on Dr. Odedino Adiola, the Commissioner for Agric for the whole state, to please come on board. Sir, you can take care, sir. Dr. Odedino is the Commissioner for Agric, Ogun State. He's been doing so much. He's been supporting us. A round of applause for Dr. Odedino once more. Sir, you are welcome, sir. I want to use the point to call on Mr. Kunle Ogunwomoju, is the Technical Director, Farm Support. Mr. Kunle Ogunwomoju is in the house. A round of applause for a handsome gentleman, Mr. Kunle Ogunwomoju, Technical Director, Farm Support. You are welcome, sir. To follow, we have Mr. Xavier De Pipe, the CEO of Feed Avenue, based in Oyo State. Mr. Xavier, round of applause. Bienvenue, Nigeria, Mr. Xavier. C'est quartier Abeokuta, beaucoup de coco shows. Bienvenue, monsieur. Yeah. That's the chairman of Feed Avenue. We have Dr. Angel Adelaja. She's the SSA to the governor on agriculture. Is she in the house? Dr. Adelaja. Okay. We're having Dr. Adegbaju representing Austin Dialog, the GIM of Top Feed. Dr. Adegbaju is in the house. Dr. Adegbaju. Okay, maybe when he comes. But to do justice to this, we want to call on the moderator of today, in the person of Dr. Kolade Adebayo of Zygosis Limited, a renowned veterinary doctor. Dr. Kolade, please. A round of applause for Dr. Kolade Adebayo. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to welcome our panelists to this panel discussion session. Our lead speaker had said a lot in the course of the presentation, and so that we do not take too much time on preliminaries, we'd like to go straight into the issues that he raised and give our panelists opportunity to air their thoughts on the issues raised and also make their further recommendations and comments, particularly on the issues from their own perspectives. To recap, Dr. Bashorun spoke about the weaknesses of the poultry industry. He spoke about the lack of global competitiveness. He spoke about the high cost of inputs. He spoke about the impact of weak infrastructure and limited access to finance, high cost of production, and limited automation. He also reminded us of the threats of disease and epizootics, the threats imposed by instability in the agri sector, insecurity and conflicts, weak governance and structures, and climate change. And I would like our panelists from your personal experiences to start with these issues that he has raised in mind. So your opening thoughts, and I'd like to start from Mr. Ogunwomojo as a practicing farmer. Your thoughts, please. Sir?
Hold on, sir. Dr. Adebisi from CBN. Okay, sit down, sir. The CBN. Dr. Adebisi from CBN. Adeyemisi from CBN. Sir.
Pick what resonates with you, sir. Because of time, just pick whatever resonates with you out of the issues raised. Top of your head, what is of most importance?
Mrs. Olukoya, please come up here. This is Mrs. Olukoya from CBN. We are bringing her because there are so many products in the CBN farmers do not know about. So she's going to tell us and going to ask her question. A round of applause for Mrs. Olukoya, please. Sorry, moderator.
Please. So the lead speaker has said a lot. You're welcome, ma. So, out of all that is said, pick an aspect that touches you most. You're welcome, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Great farmers, great farmers, no farmer, no farmer. In my brief time in the industry, and when I talk about brief, I spent about 36 years in the industry. I know that there are myriads of challenges, but we have also seen a tremendous growth in the industry. So the life of the average farmer is to solve the challenges that come up. So when we talk about challenges, most of the time, for me, there are opportunities. Challenges are like opportunities for you to be able to grow if you're able to take care of those challenges. So that is why most of the time, I don't dwell on the challenges, because they are really for us opportunities for growth. So that's the thing I'm going to say about it. We can ask specific questions and I begin to address them. I've seen the industry grow from when people have 5,000 birds, 10,000 birds, and they are laughing all the way to the bank. And now we are seeing people having more than 1 million birds, and there are challenges with the operations. So, like I said, challenges are opportunities for growth. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Ogowomoju says there are opportunities and challenges. I understand that we can't cut some time, but this is the part that is for you. Yes. And it's important that you pay attention. Yes. So
please, one house, very important. That's why we're here.
This is the part that is for us to discuss these things and talk about what they are to take home. So please, let's be quiet. Thank you very much. Servers, please allow to finish. Thank you. Now, you said there are opportunities. On the note of opportunities, I see the Honorable Commissioner saying the central bank should come, because it begins with money. So central bank, and now you are close to me. What are the opportunities that you have for us? Let's come to you very quickly.
Thank you very much. I believe the polarization of Nigeria can bear CBN witness that there are many opportunities which their members have been able to tap into. Well, like we were told, the commercial agri-credit scheme is there, and poultry is one of the focal commodities. And so many big players, because it's not meant for the small players, so many big players have benefited under the commercial agri-credit scheme. The interest rate is single digits, that's at 9%. Another intervention of the CBN, which I believe many people in the poultry industry have really benefited from, is the real sector support facility, discounted CRR. It also comes at single digits, 9%, and I know that we have many of the players in the industry that have been benefiting. Now let's come to the small holders. We have the Agri-Credit Guarantee Scheme funds. Although the interest rate is market determined, but there is an incentive to that, the interest drawback. CBN gives 50% of the interest that the farmer might have paid. We have this for our small players. As individuals, if you have collateral, you can get up to 50 million naira. We also have the AXMIS, and there's a special window for poultry farmers under AXMIS. That's the autonomous AXMIS for poultry farmers. We have a lot of our poultry farmers that have benefited under that. The TCF, although it was brought out during the COVID-19, we have a special window for poultry farmers under the TCF. So these are some of our interventions. They come as single digits, and I know many of our poultry players have been, and they've benefited under it. In case some of us are not aware, we still have them for us. Thank you.
So where should the average farmer come who wants to benefit?
You have to start with your bank, because CBN will not relate directly with any end user. So you must be able to get a bank that will play along with you. And for AXMIS, you have to go through NISAL Microfinance Bank. Another thing I want to encourage us to do, backwards integration. I know we can do that. And for the Anchor Powers program, we have the prime anchor, whereby the prime anchor can be the single obligor. You get a bank, and you now give to the smallholder farmers. You have to first start with your bank.
So you've heard that you must start with your bank. It is your bank that will introduce you to the central bank. That is a major concern for many farmers. Where is central bank? So you must start from your bank. Dr. Bashorun, you said now you are out of government, and so you can speak freely. Let me come to you, particularly in the Southwest, where many of us are. What are some of the things that you think government can do very quickly to make life easier, particularly for poultry farmers?
Thank you, moderator. There are quite a number of things the government can do quite easily. The first thing is to create this land bank. Access to land is a big problem. So if government can create agricultural estates, as is being done in Lagos State, these are contiguous areas of land where, farmers can be settled, and, services are easily available to users. Extension service is readily available. They produce on hectare basis. They can work together and, carry out benefits, participate in benefits that government. I don't believe so much in this issue of subsidy, because when you do subsidy, the chances of elite capture is always there. So this subsidy do not accrue directly to the needed people. So what government should do is just create the enabling environment for the individual to invest his money. Number one, make sure they have access to land. That's the very first thing. I'll give you a quick example. In 1965 or so, Malaysia came to Nigeria to take seedlings, oil palm seedlings. They went back to their country and cleared millions of hectares of land and partitioned it into 4 hectares. And as you graduate from university or from colleges, you are given compulsory, you are allocated a land, all the machines, everything you need is given to you. All you need to do is produce. When you produce, government mops it up. Within 12 years, Malaysia became the largest producer of palm oil in the world. They have now moved from oil palm to other industries, high-tech and so on. So government can copy that. Just create the enabling environment. Our youths are not lazy. All they want is the support. You graduate, you don't need to travel abroad. There's land for you to participate. I gave you the model. Input providers. Now you have the model, you have the land, georeference, certificate issued and everything. You are settled there. If you mess up, they displace you. Nobody wants to mess up. So if he needs fertilizer, bring it to his place. He needs feeds, bring it to his place. He needs DOC, give him there. Don't give him money. He produces and you bring off-takers to him. Off-takers will mop up everything he produces and he gets his money. That's the simple model, and from there we can begin to talk of industrialization. I think that's the best way to start. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Honorable Commissioner Dr. Odedina, I was setting you up by allowing somebody to talk to government so that you can respond. August, are you giving land? I'm just saying. So, what is government doing in Ogun State, particularly for poultry farmers?
So the setup
has worked. And I want to start by saying that everywhere in the world, farmers must be supported. But whoever is providing the support will depend on where you are in the planet and the level of development. But in Africa, in Nigeria, and in Ogun State, government must provide support to farmers along the value chain. So you can't even isolate poultry. As a young person or as someone, if you need to go into farming, even poultry, there are questions. Where do I get the land? Even if you have the land should be cleared. Where do I get inputs? Where do I get market? Most importantly, who is going to link me to technology? Some of our young people have their degree in Yoruba, Arabic, this, and agriculture is now the opportunity. Are they going back to UNAP or FUNAP? Or are they, who is going to lead them on? So the government of Ogun State has done well in this. Yeah. So when His Excellency came on board, about 150,000 individuals raised their hand that want to benefit from agricultural value chain, including poultry. And you know that you cannot do that alone, but you need the strength of your partner. That's why I was waving to our most reliable partner, CBN, that please come on board, come and bear us witness. During the lockdown, the government locked in positively good number of youth in Odeda Farm Institute. Each of them giving 1,000 broiler each. At the end of years, the first 3 weeks, they made 500,000. They repeated it twice. And these guys, some of them probably might be here today, playing a leading role, and we are supporting them as commercial grower in the poultry industry. So what I'm saying is that as government, enabling environment is key. I want to conclude by saying that there is something we are omitting as stakeholder, and I want to get it clear. This is from experience. The edge of Ogun State. The way Malaysia became the best in tree crop, and you should ask us, why are we always the best in poultry, cassava and that thing? It's value chain coordination. That's what is lacking in Africa and Nigeria. So we have investors here, and they'll be needing, but in Ogun State alone, I know the tonnage of soya and maize that we need to sustain the industry. When investors come, they come with their briefcase. They just need, they don't want to go to the farm. They just need regular supply of raw material. Those machines do not run on water or sand. How do I sustain my poultry industry that I need 500 tons of maize per day? So we need value chain coordination, a government that can give land to farmers. During the lockdown alone, Ogun State government cleared 2,500 hectares of land to applicants being taken care of by CBN who claim they do not have land. So we need that value chain coordination to support young people on what to grow and to address the issue of productivity. We are running a risk of blackmailing ourselves if we ask young people to go to the farm and produce and they come back with low yield. They will not only tell the other youth that it's not profitable, they will announce it on Twitter and Facebook that don't go there, don't go at this number. And we all know that this is profitable. So our edge in Ogun State is that we have smart farmers that we have trained that can work with investors and deliver raw material sustainably to the industry without running bad. Because if there is no raw material base, there is no industrialization. So in Ogun State, what we have done is that if you are here now and you need 1 million tons of maize, I can give you 1 million youths that have been trained so that you work with them as industry. So the enabling environment is there. So CBN is our most reliable partner. 40,000 young people already linked with land, credit, and other facilities. So that is it. The value chain coordination is very, very important so that there are so many agricultural value chain opportunities that you can take up. In poultry alone, so many. What about in collection? What about in aggregation? So we need government that can arrange young people and link them to opportunity in the industry. And we have so many partners working with us. Our credit linkage anchor, CBN. We have input anchor. We also have farmers organization. So we have lists of young people that we have introduced to CBN and other agencies. Before this government, if you check the books, maybe 100, 200, but we have linked over 400 individuals to agricultural value chain opportunity, including credit linkage and market. That is the way to go. Okay. If you want youthful involvement in agriculture and to sustain industrialization with two things: private sector involvement, two, strategic partnership with all agencies in the world that have the mandate of supporting farmers, including US soya that we have identified. We have young people in Ogun State that will grow soybean for you. So we'll still talk, because that's the first time we have an agency that is interested in agronomy, in productivity. Because if we don't address the issue of yield gap, nobody will grow soya, nobody will grow maize.
Question for you, sir, before you drop the microphone. Any youth, any Ogun State youth whose name is not yet on your list, where should they come?
Well, so many places: Ministry of Agriculture, local government, even CBN. Because if you want to discredit this program, you are not discrediting Ogun State, because it's not Ogun State program alone. It's federal government opportunity, private sector opportunity, international development partners opportunity. Our role as government is to expose this opportunity, because we've been paid to expose it. Other people might not do it because they are not, but we have to expose this opportunity to young people so that they can also benefit.
Now, we will have one more clapping to do. I want to stand up to say this. If you've been coming for poultry show for many years, 15 years, please hold your hand. 15 years, 16 years. If you pass from Shion to Abeokuta in 2005, 2006, 2007, wave your hand. Shion to Abeokuta. How many of you lost a tire or lost a shirt? I lost two. From Shion to Abeokuta. Where one said that they collected milk and the truck failed because of bad, and that one truck that failed because of bad $2 million worth of milk. So that is a noble investment. We have to commend you for making a
questions are started coming in. You can write your questions, and this honorable panel will do justice to that. And quickly we have Mrs. Angel Adelaja, SSA to the governor in the house. Is she around? Mrs. Angel Adelaja. You could please come on the high table here. A lot of applause, Mrs. You are okay there? Okay, quickly. So bring in your questions so that they can tackle it. Moderator, sir.
Go ahead.
Okay,
please go ahead.
Okay, let me read the first question. It says, please listen. That's why we are here. Please, my question is for Dr. Person. We, the black farmer in Alimosho local government, wish to be integrated to your lovely coaster, sir. How can you put us through?
Thank you very much, the farmer from Alimosho. So basically what we have done is to present a model. And the model is to just test a proof of concept. Once this concept is accepted and is successful, it can be replicated easily anywhere in the world. And it's a concept that I gave you the example of Malaysia recently. In Lagos State Government Agency, Lagos Employment Trust Fund, LSCTF, facilitated a tripartite arrangement between farmers in Ikorodu, broiler farmers, and certain service providers, off-takers, DOC producers, feed millers, and so on and so forth. If you are a service provider, you come, you register. So those three groups sat and agreed amongst themselves that, okay, I'm a farmer, I need 2,000 DOC. This is an archery that will provide it for me. LSCTF say, give the 2,000 to the farmer, I will guarantee payment. Then the feed miller, I need maybe 300 bags of feed to raise that quantity of chicken to maturity in 42 days. He gives me. And XYZ Chicken Limited says, okay, in 42 days, I'll come and pack this chicken at 2.1 kg average weight at this amount. So there's a discussion, and that arrangement has been solidified, and the financial institution is there to back it. One kobo is not going to the farmer. It takes only all the support in kind, and the arrangement is working smoothly. So you can just copy that model and replicate it in Alimosho, in Odeda, anywhere in the world, and it will work. And then you create jobs for the service providers, the input, the feed millers, the drug producers, the DOC producers, and so on. So it will grow the industry and it will sustain the industry. This is what we need to trigger this multi-trillion naira industry. We are just sitting on it unutilized, because if you leave it to the individual farmers, it's difficult. Where will it stand from? You say go to the commercial banks. The commercial bank will charge you nothing less than 17%. And to do broiler production at best, given best practices, you cannot get 14% margin. So how can you borrow money? If you say you want the single digit that CBN is doing, only a few can have access to that. So let's try it. We are ready. I think my contacts is in the presentation. We can present this model. The paper is available. I'm sure the organizers will make it available to all participants. So you can see the model there. Go and try it, and I'm sure it's going to work. Thank you.
Mr. Xavier, you've come to invest in Nigeria. What are your impressions of the industry? And what do you think is good about the poultry industry?
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for your question. Interesting. As a matter of fact, Feed Avenue has been investing here in Nigeria for now a couple of years, for 3 years, exactly. And I must admit, it has not been a very good timing for investment here in Nigeria. Although I can see that I've never seen an industry as much as dynamic and resilient as the poultry industry. I'm just going to give you a bit more perspective now. Let's see that, I was not there, but I've been told that in the early 80s, $1 was 1 naira, right? In 2019, $1 was 60, getting to 400 naira, right? Today, $1 is actually double on that. Meaning that in 2 years, 3 years, the dollar has doubled compared to the last 40 years. So this has a very wide and strong impact on an industry like poultry industry. But you can see that the poultry industry is still relying a lot on its own capacity to actually sustain itself. And that's where if you want to see, you're asking me what is my impression. I can tell you that I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed to see how resilient it can be, to see that all prices has even doubled up in those last 2 years. If you look at the price of maize or soybean or whatever, everything has doubled up. And still, the industry is there and the industry remains. So I take advantage of my CBN partner to be there to see if it would be very steady and very important for us to get a more steady environment from an economical standpoint to make sure that the industry can actually fly. And for that, the dollar is a very important part. If you look at now, you know, here I've got an iPhone, okay? iPhone, the main thing on an iPhone, what is it? Is a chip. Well, not only, but I mean the chip is part of it. I would say it's a bit like, for my business, premix is key in the feed, okay? So if you don't get a premix that is of a good quality, if you don't get a premix that is actually made, you know, very good, you're not gonna go as good, you know, not gonna perform very well. And right now, you need to be professional. You need to perform very well. So you need to get this premix from, unfortunately, abroad. But just like the chip of the iPhone, there is only what? Few companies in the world able to manufacture such a chip. Well, it's the same for us in the premix. If you want to perform very well, if you want to access, you know, some very good, very good standard, then you need to actually gather those nutrients, those special vitamins and minerals from abroad. And that's where actually we are very much affected by the dollar somehow. So I think it would be good and very important to make a very more economical, macroeconomical environment to make the industry to fly. Otherwise, I must admit, this industry here in Nigeria is really great. Thank you.
Okay. Top feed, Feed Avenue says dollar is affecting them. Top feed, is dollar affecting you too?
You know, it's a chain, let me say, it's a chain reaction. I was discussing with one of this premise seller this morning. I said, we cannot mix soya and maize together and feed it to the bird. Premix, all those micronutrients, they are also there. And if you don't get quality premix, there will not be any performance. You cannot sustain your production, and that's the reason why, you know, many people, they used to practice what I used to call, I can drive myself. Most farmers, once you have 1,000 birds, say I can drive myself. I want to formulate my feed. And how do you determine the quality of the premise you are going to add to that finished feed? And once, if you have been doing it 1 week, 2 weeks, and the third or the fifth week, you move to the wrong end and you mix rubbish into the feed. At the end of the day, you cannot sustain. Then I also want to comment on the finance that we are talking about. You know, it's not only finance that can make poultry industry to be sustainable. We have seen so many big farms. At the end of the day, they have money to pump into the business. But because of the management aspect, you put about 20 million into a business and you employ experienced poultry attendant as your farm manager. At the end of the day, the business is not sustainable. Most farmers, the management of their feed, the feeding management is a major issue. You have 1,000 birds and you are using the feed that you're supposed to use for 2,000 birds. You have 1,000 birds, you are using, let's say, average of 4 bags, and your farm attendant is taking one out of those feed requirements. At the end of the day, they will show you out of the system. The management in terms of the earth too. You can see them, many farms, they still operate, I can drive myself. Veterinary services, they will not employ. How do you expect that type of farmer to be in the business? So basically, the management, the technology, or let me say the science of poultry must also be put into the industry. And that is when we can still be in the business. Thank you.
The science of poultry. Let's take a few more questions.
Okay, great farmers, let's listen to this question. Importation of agro raw materials is supposed to be VAT-free. What is the role of the CBN in enduring this? Is compiled by the Customs Service. Can I come again? Please listen to this. It affects all of us here. Great farmers, it says, importation of agro raw materials is supposed to be VAT-free.
VAT.
What is the role of the CBN in ensuring this is complied by the Customs Service? What they are saying. Okay. Okay.
That's not a function for the CBN to do. If the customs are, I think we have parastatals that are meant to do the needful. CBN has nothing to do with that.
Okay. Madam says CBN has nothing to do with that. So what she's saying in essence, maybe she's sending us a message that the next time we have a program like this, the customs should be around to tell us.
Okay, but someone wants to speak to that, please.
I must say this. After this, okay.
Yeah, maybe just information for that particular person. If you are importing, particularly, you will go through your commercial bank, fill the necessary forms. If you have done the due diligence, the customs are very professional about this. All the items that are on the prohibition list is shown to you at your bank. So you know what items you can bring in and what items you cannot bring in. The items that are, duty free, the items that you have to pay duty on, all this information you can get from your commercial bank. So right from the starting point. So you have no problem if you have done everything right, and at the custom points there shouldn't be any problem.
Mr. Ogunwomoju imports regularly. Let him also make a comment.
There is the customs tariff book. There is a customs tariff book that specifies the HS codes for everything that you want to import. And in the HS code, the duty applicable is stated, the VAT applicable is stated, other charges are stated. So if you get a hold of the customs tariff book, it already tells you all the information that you need to know even before you do the importation at all. So customs cannot come and impose any arbitrary charges on you based on the customs tariff code.
We have to close quickly. So let's just go to the panelists. I got an order that we have to close. Let's take our closing thoughts from person to person.
Just read the question.
Okay.
I will match the questions. They are all for CBN. I think our farmers need money. It says, the criteria and spread of your intervention is not even. If you take the spread of beneficiaries in this hall, you will be amazed. You will be amazed. Support peasant farmers, such as Ikodu Boiler Hub. I will guarantee employment and economic stability. Star Farm Ikodu. Then we have another one here. Anchor Borrowers Program. Come to Ota, Adodo, local government area, 2019. After so many people registered for this program, and all the people in charge asked people to open an account with Wema Bank. Up to date, we do not hear anything about the program again. The last one on CBN. CBN matter. In 2019, I applied for CBN agement loan through NISA Bank. I was called for interview. I opened bank account with them, and so on and so forth. Till today, no loan given to me. My farm is registered. I have been in the industry for more than 5 years. Please, ma, what can I do?
Well, we all like money. So we'll start with you, man. Just take our parting shots.
Okay. The Anchor Borrowers Program, yes, it was launched in many local government areas. I don't know how this person from Adodo was not able to come in. What happened was that we have a lot of people on the list, And by the time the BVN validation was done, some of the BVN did not scale through. I know farmers that planted in Ado water, and we had an off-taker that they sold their cassava to. So I wouldn't know what the problem was. Probably the BVN failed the validation test. Yes, AXMIS in 2019, you registered and you were interviewed with NISAL Microfinance Bank. Well, although the program is a CBN program and NISAL is equally CBN baby, I wouldn't know what happens at that end. Maybe you need to visit NISAL Microfinance Bank and follow up on your application. But I know that many people benefited under the AXMIS. I didn't get the third one. I think I missed that out.
You can always follow up. We are still around.
If you have any questions, you can always come to our office at Sibara Development Finance Office. You are free to come anytime. Thank you.
Mr. Ashave, your closing thoughts?
No, sorry, no, it was just a quick question because she was nearby me, so...
Okay, you have a question.
I just wanted to ask. No, as a matter of fact, for the dollar, I do think that it's quite important to make the overall economy to work well. It makes actually my job much easier as well to make actually to participate to this industry to fly. When are we going to get more dollar available? At least at the rate that it's supposed to be.
When are we going to get more dollar available?
Well, I mean,
just to understand, right now, I would say a bag of my product, if I were to apply the rate of today, would be twice as much expensive as what it was 2 years ago. That's it. And right now I can't, the market, you guys here, poultry farmers, can't absorb that. So they're always going to tell me that I'm expensive. But actually I'm not. It's just because I can't deal with it. So what do you want to do for that? As I said, the premix is kind of the brain of the feed. So what do you do for the brain of the feed?
okay, I may not be able to tell you when you're going to get your dollar. I know we have quite some challenges concerning Forex these days. There are windows whereby you can get it at the rate that will be beneficial to you. But I know that the process has been slow for quite some time. Yes, there are challenges, but I don't know when you're going to get your dollar, but you will get it at any rate.
So, CBN has given a political answer. Please, Mr. Gwomoji, please. Your party short. So, CBN has given you a political answer.
Great farmers,
great nation.
Great farmers, great farmers,
great nation.
Great farmers,
great nation.
Please, I'd like you to pay attention, even if it's just for the next 1 or 2 minutes. Great farmers,
great nation.
Great farmers, great farmers, great farmers, great farmers. As someone that has practiced in this industry for more than 3 decades, I have seen the challenges come. When we started our first parent stock, the dollar was about 20-something naira. $1 was about 20-something naira. Diesel has always been one challenge or the other. Electricity has always been a challenge or the other. Raw material prices have always been a challenge at one time or the other. But our ability to turn these challenges into opportunities is why we are standing today. The management of most of the commercial farms call to question why we are having a lot of these challenges. We sell dairy chicks, we sell drugs and vaccines, we sell feed. So because of that, every time we are in contact with the farmers, and every farmer is blaming the dairy chicks, or the drugs and vaccines, or the feed for their issues. Meanwhile, most of the time, it is because the management of the resources available to us is not well done.
I challenge all of us to go back and look and develop ourselves in the area of our knowledge of the industry and the knowledge of our practices. And I will see your businesses grow and swear on a daily basis. Thank you very much. The Lord be with you all.
Thank you, sir. Problems will not go away. Honorable Commissioner, sir.
Yes, it's been a very refreshing afternoon. We are in the era of focus on agriculture. People want to eat more. They want to eat healthy. There is a direct foreign investment. There is import substitution. So we all agree agriculture is a way out, but it's not the easy way out. Government will not allow you to open a surgery and start treating people. It's illegal, you'll be arrested. But if you go and take 5,000 bots, no government will ask you not to do it, because you will manage them badly and fail and prevent other people from joining the business that is very profitable. So my advice is that the opportunities will continue to increase, so long the challenges. I started learning problem of agriculture in primary school. As commissioner, I'm still learning problem of agriculture. But that should not debar us from harvesting the opportunity. Technology is very key. Productivity is also key. So if you think agriculture can be managed without increased efficiency and then reduce problem, there may be a problem. So let's look at technology to reduce problem and increase efficiency with networking and collaboration, with technology, and with linkage to agencies responsible for supporting farmers.
Linkages to people who can help us. Dr. Bashorun, you've spoken.
Thank you very much. It's simple. Nigeria's population is our strength. We have over 200 million people. Our GDP is about $50 trillion. It's the largest in Africa. We have a very youthful population. About over 70% are youths. So a quick, low-hanging fruit for us is to concentrate on broiler farming. Quick turnaround, 42 days, you make your money, and you increase the protein intake of our people, which is per capita of about 2 kilograms per person per year now. Lower than that of Ghana, which is almost 7 kilograms. That's a disgrace. So let us trigger $1 trillion economy now by supporting our youth to go into broiler farming. We create businesses for input providers. We create businesses for service providers. We create businesses for businesses along the value chain. And everybody will be rich within a quick turnaround time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Someone is protesting here just before I speak that what is the rationale or principle behind hiking in price of day-old chicks towards the festive period? I think it's just demand and supply.
Demand and supply.
But so, Mr. Ogowoju is here as a representative of day-old chicks. You've had your protest. Please, sir.
Great farmer,
great nation.
I've never seen a tailor without a TOEFL or a record book. But most of our farmers, they don't have thermometer. They don't even have anything to test the pH of their water. And you are applying vaccine. I visited a farm that apply vaccine at the same time to you. I visited a farm that apply vaccine, and after the vaccination, he applied antibiotics. Yes. He said that is how the owner of the farm send the product to him. So it means if we are going to remain in this industry and move ahead, we need to get the science of poultry. Thank you.
That is a very good one. So at the end, our panelists are united in saying that there are opportunities. What we need is to improve ourselves. What we need is to avail ourselves of the opportunities that are available. What we need is to collaborate. And then, if we do that, even though the challenges will not go away, we will continue to have profit as practitioners in the industry. I'd like to thank you very much, Ma. Thank you very much, sirs, for participating in this panel session. Even though we're in a hurry, we've learned a lot from all the panelists, and you know them now. You can engage them in the course of the program for more interactions. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Great Thomas. Panelists want to thank you. There's going to be a group photograph quickly, and the LOC will join, and the dignitaries here also will join. But before that, the rep of every exhibitor is expected to be in the hall, because the dignitaries are going to move in there. And also, there's going to be a communique to this effect, because we have the governmental people here, we have the businessmen here. You can see people ask questions about customs. So quickly now, we want our panelists to please rise so that we can quickly take a group photograph, and the LOC chairman and the Southwest chairman can also join before other dignitaries can come up. The LOC people can also come. Over to you.
All right, our Southwest chairman, our LOC chairman, please join them on the high table. Let all our business invited guests also join them on the high table, please. All the invited guests, please join them on the high table for a group photograph. Then all LOC members, please come to the front. All LOC members, Dr. Pe, let's all join for a group photograph. All our LOC members, please come. Sorry, sir. Can you please come to the edge so that some other person will be? Thank you. Don't worry, you can't fall. All right. So, LOC members, can we come to the front? Let's come down. Let's come down. Let's come down. Go down.
Applause for a handsome gentleman, Mr. Kunle Ogunwamoju, Technical Director, Farm Support. You are welcome, sir. To follow, we have Mr. Xavier De Pipe, the CEO of Feed Avenue, based in Oyo State. Mr. Xavier, round of applause. Bienvenue, Nigeria, Mr. Xavier. The LOC chairman, the Southwest chairman, the dignitaries, the panelists, the representative of commissioners, please, the LOC leaders, the Southwest chairman, please lead us to the hall.